Hi, I'm Will Ross with the Burn the Ship podcast, business podcast for business leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners in the community. I am very fortunate to have a new friend of mine, our guest today, Karen Karabinos. Am I saying that right, Chris?
You are.
All right, Karabinos. With BlackFire Signs. Chris has got a very unique journey in that BlackFire has not been what he's completely focused on. It's been more or less probably the past, I think, 18 months is what he shared with me. Some might even label him a serial entrepreneur. I know that there have been quite a few different ventures, and I'm excited to hear more about it. With that, why don't you kind of lead us in here? I think that the tagline of what I want us to really talk about is there's a common theme, and that theme is building, right? It's building people, it's building companies, it's mentoring. Share a little bit more with us, just kind of how that started. I think you're an Auburn grad. I won't hold that against you. Go Dogs. But no, I have a lot of great memories down in Auburn. But yeah, tell us a little bit more just of, cutting your teeth in entrepreneurship, I believe, right out of school.
I appreciate that, Will, and appreciate the invitation to join you here. I'm looking forward
Thank
to
you
the
for, yeah.
conversation. Yeah, I didn't really realize that was my core to my DNA is building things and building people and building businesses until about 20 years into my career. But even
Okay,
when college, I did a startup with one of my brothers, even while
that's
I
right.
was in college. I went in traditional workforce with Procter Gamble out of school and then Coca-Cola. So I spent about 16 years in consumer packaged goods. But even during that journey, my second or third job with Coke was a first-time job where I was given a new position that had been created to go off and build a new distribution network. Then
And
I
this is in Mexico?
No, this is even before Mexico. This is in the United
Okay, okay.
States. And that led to Mexico, where I was part of a small missionary team initially with Coca-Cola going there to start the Minute Maid juice business. And we actually built that business out. And then I came back,
Really?
did international business development, took Minute Maid to a couple dozen countries around the world. So even within a big corporate giant like Coke, I inadvertently found a niche for building brands and building products and building new markets. And so I didn't realize, so I was halfway through that journey, that I wasn't getting the normal jobs. I was getting those hard jobs, but they were the interesting things that attracted me. So that's really what drove me.
Sure. Yeah.
And so in 2000, after 16 years in CPG, consumer packaged goods, my two brothers and I, we went off and started a company called eHealthClaim. It was an internet healthcare company that was on the cutting edge back in 99, 2000, and 01. So that
I
was the
was.
second startup I did. And so
Okay.
we failed miserably because the dot-com crash of that era washed out
Yep.
the healthcare companies, but we learned a lot and we applied it in other ways. But at that point, I sort of realized what I was really interested in, and that was
Sure.
building, again, people, not people yet, but products and brands and businesses. And so I've done a few startups, as you mentioned. Um, Also along the way, I found that I was really, or am really interested in building teams, and that got me into
Mm-hmm.
building people. I got involved with Boy Scouts with my two sons, who are now Eagle Scouts, and I'm an Eagle. And even my wife got involved. She got the Eagle Scout for Girl Scouts, if you will, the
Oh,
Golden.
really?
And so we're a flock of eagles, if you will. But
You are.
even though they're in their 30s, my boys are in their 30s, I'm still involved with Boy Scouts now because I see the value of building young men for the future and building future leaders
Sure.
and future husbands and that kind of thing. And even in the church, I got a piece we wrote United Methodist Church. I'm
Mm-hmm.
involved in United Methodist Men's Ministry there. I'm a conference board, a Board of Laity, and the United Methodist Men. And so I lead a number of things at the conference level too. So I like building people. I like building
Yep.
businesses. I like building brands. So that's probably longer of an extension of an introduction than you wanted, but
No, that's exactly what I wanted. I mean, I've got two like kind of taglines that I've taken from that too. I mean, it sounds like you like a challenge, right? And you've discovered that. I think, Coke was part of that probably journey for you. And it was like, it doesn't matter if it's difficult. It's what I want to be challenged. I'm going to test myself. And then I love this line too. And it's not every, business owner and not everybody's had the same journey, but we learned a lot. And there's a lot of value in that. And I want you to expand on that too, right? Because I think failure can make such great things in the future if you look at it the right way, right? As opposed to tucking your head and just kind of going back into a hole. It's like, how do I improve from this process? And that's what I'm hearing from you. What are some of those things that have been your hurdles, as you've kind of come through this and that you've overcome? that you've learned a lot, right? And it's made you that much better and stronger, and you've been able to share that message with others.
Yeah, I in the 2000 2001 2 period when we were failing with e-health claims, somebody introduced a book to me called Failing Forward. And it's an excellent book. And the premise is that everybody fails. 95% of the world's people never get off their knees more than once. And everybody, whether you've been a president of a company or a country or a 501c3, you've had some stumbles and you bruised your knees and your elbows. Nobody gets there unscathed. So the difference is people getting up. And so the book helps you think about how to get up and some mental
Okay.
models and some tools. So one of the things that I do every time I'm going through a transition between a job, uh, having a child, buying a business or whatever, I go away. I got a little private spot up in the North Georgia mountains called the Hike Inn. I
Okay.
go and I'll go up there for a couple of days, and I'll take a blank notepad and the Bible, and I'll just go reflect the last chapter that I'm closing and the chapter that I'm going to. And so I'll be very thoughtful because one of the things that this book, the concept introduced me to is don't carry baggage from the last chapter to the new chapter. And don't go home if you're upset at work and kick your dog or yell at your wife.
Yep.
So identify what the issues were, what you were responsible for, own it. What you couldn't control in 2000, we couldn't control the economy. That was nothing
Right.
we could control. Okay. So, but own things that you are responsible for, learn them, identify them, compartmentalize them, set them aside, and then think about how you can apply learnings from that to the next chapter, the new job you're taking or whatever. And so I've done that maybe 8 or 10 times over 30 years. And
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
not that I changed jobs that much, but just anytime I go through a
Right. Yeah.
decision. And so
Hmm.
taking thoughtful time, taking a couple of days to reflect on that is one way that I work through that.
I mean I think that speaks wonders. I mean, what is your relationship with nature?
I
I've,
would
I,
rather be camping. That's my bumper sticker.
oh
Rather
yeah, yeah,
than
that's
rather
it,
be
man.
camping. I've
There's
been out
something
to
about just
Philmont.
kick.
I don't know if you've ever been Scouts or went to Philmont out in New Mexico, but it's the largest
I
voice
haven't.
conservation in the world, 140
Okay.
acres. And you go
Wow,
back for 12 days out in the wilderness at
man.
10,000 feet elevation. So I trained my boys up how to do that. I took each of them
Yeah,
out there. And so, yeah, I'd rather be hiking than camping.
I get it. It definitely is one of those things that I feel much more, rejuvenated and fulfilled when I've spent time within nature and, just being outside. If it's at the golf course or if it's at the lake or wherever it may be, just to be, outside of the office, away from a screen. I think that there's a lot to be learned there, and I think the more people that are willing to get out there, the more benefits they'll see from it. So
Well,
I totally understand that.
you see my background screen there. So that's my
I do.
place. So, yeah,
So wait, that's what?
that's Yellowstone. That's my
Oh,
peaceful
that's Yellowstone. Okay.
mental getaway place. So,
Nice, beautiful, beautiful. Well, let me ask you this, and we'll kind of circle back here a little bit. But so you have recently um, purchased, I believe is the best way to put this, BlackFire Signs, right? And so that's a new business venture for you. How's that been going?
it's a wild ride. It's been going
Yeah.
really well. So my wife and I bought it May of last year, so 15
Okay.
months ago. We were in significant due diligence for 6 months leading up to it before we
Okay.
acquired the company. And it was a young company, 3 years old. And so we're 4.5 years old now. At any rate, it's in the sign business here in Atlanta, Georgia. It was growing nicely when we picked it up. It's accelerated the growth since, partially because of
Excellent.
the prior owners did and partially because of what we've done. And we
Sure.
just made a couple key strategic decisions to help us focus on uh, a core set of products and services that we want to provide, not try to be all
Gotcha.
people. And we've also picked a couple of key markets that we're going after. So providing a little bit of strategic direction to it and hiring a couple of
Sure.
people. And so we've already doubled this year, and we just signed a contract that could incredibly grow it again. So we may
I
end up
love it.
close to tripling this year, which is not what the plan was, and I really don't recommend that for anybody. But you don't ignore it, you don't walk away from it.
Of course not. Yeah, you just adjust. Yeah, especially on that growth side. That's
Yeah.
huge. Well, so when you started to look at, you said 6 month due diligence, what were some of those factors for you that you were looking for in the business that you wanted to to basically invest your time and your money in with your wife. Like what kind of led into that? Was it signs the whole way? Was it a wide variety of things that kind of just made sense of being able to grow and at the right sort of dynamics had to be there? Or what went into ultimately leading to BlackFire? Was there other opportunities that you looked at, or was there some that stood out there?
Yeah, I love that question. So I'd been in healthcare technology for the 13 years previous to this,
Sure.
and I was doing fine. I loved the job. I had a senior position with a software development firm, and I loved what I was doing. But I always had this itch. I wanted to go back and run something again and own it. And I know I've got about another 10 years left in my
Right.
trajectory before I retire. So I want to go, maybe create a little additional wealth for the family, for my family. So I couldn't find anything that I could buy or afford, or
Yeah.
people would hire me in healthcare technology at the time. So I started looking outside, and I hired a consultant to help me look at other C-level jobs or maybe purchase opportunities and
Sure.
open it up to franchises. Now, this is not a
Hmm.
franchise, but I started looking at that,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, just to consider it.
Hmm.
So the first thing he did was he gave me an assessment, and I did a deep dive assessment. He wasn't trying to guide me. When he's an executive recruiter and he's a franchise guy. He could go
Right.
either way. But it was really helpful for me to just reflect on what is it that I want to do at this point in my life. I've accumulated a certain set of experiences and predilections and interests. Where do I want to go next? It's sort of
Hmm.
like that going up to the hike end thing, except I didn't spend just 2 nights. I actually spent a couple
Right.
months thinking about it.
Yes.
And then that gave me some direction. And I really was leaning towards leaving the healthcare technology industry. And
Okay.
he presented three different options. And so I looked at each of the three options. The sign was the least of the three that I was expecting, the sign industry, but I
Hmm.
eliminated the other two. And I sort of said, okay, let's go scratch on this one. And I peeled the onion back and peeled the onion back, and that led for several months. And then courted the question that you asked, why did I choose the sign industry? I wanted a market that was growing. I didn't want to join
Sure.
a declining market. I wanted something that had good profits in it. Uh,
Hmm.
I'd like to find something that didn't have a whole lot of competition, and maybe, and also minimal barriers to entry. That's an unusual combination of criteria there.
It absolutely is. Yeah.
Yeah, because usually you got trade-offs in there. But so with the sign industry, I found all that to be true. I
Okay.
mean, you think about it, Fast Signs or Signarama, those are the brand names, and
Right.
collectively they only have like a 2 share. There's no really massive. There's no Coca-Cola in this industry. There's no
Okay.
UPS. And so, and also what I found out, I kept hearing through the due diligence, and I talked to over 20 different sign company owners through this process. I did a lot of tire kick.
Smart. That's very smart.
And I found out that all of them were saying there's just not enough sign companies in this world. Even though some
Rarely do you have competitors out there saying there's just not enough of us.
there's
And
there's
that's
just there's some that fail, of course, and that may be because of business operational reasons or some pricing
absolutely
or just bad place, bad time. But we literally cannot handle all the leads that we get in the door every day. And I hear a lot of other sign companies say that. So
is that right?
trying to build an engine that'll capture all those and convert all those.
Right.
But so there's a huge demand. It's a growing market. There's a constant need for it because people do replace signs over time. And a lot of, especially here in Atlanta, you got a lot of people buying new places and they got to rebrand the place that they just bought. And there's a lot
Yep.
of construction going up, a lot of warehouse construction, just lots of economic
Ton.
activity here that just drives a lot of purchases. So that is a good market. I looked at profitability. If you can run a company, you can do that. I also didn't have to be a sign expert. I could hire the people that I needed to run the company,
Sure.
and I could actually run the business. So it checked all those boxes for a kind of company that I wanted to do. Plus, it was small enough I could have fun and not have to buy something really large where I would be overly consumed with that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. How this is kind of jumping around a little bit, but not a ton. How important, a lot of times for me personally on my own journey, I've sometimes resisted asking for help, or it's been one of those things where I didn't always have the confidence to maybe ask the question of one of my peers or somebody who is maybe an expert in that space that I was going towards. You mentioned working with a business consultant. How, and on a wider question, how important has it been to use your resources to get to where you are now, right? How have those individuals impacted? Granted, with a business consultant, there's some fees that are associated with that versus mentorship, which is something that you offered up, the boys and Boy Scouts or through, your church. But just talk to me a little bit more about just how the impact of others has led you to where you're at, right? And helping with those decisions.
Boy, I love this question. So I'm the fourth out of seven kids, or
Okay.
it should be fifth out of seven kids. And I had three older brothers that made a lot of life choices that caused them some extra consternation, as well as my parents. So I was able to observe from the back row some things
Mm-hmm.
not to do. And so, and now that, once I got into my professional career, I always reached out to my brothers, even went into business with a couple of them at one time, and one of those two more times. So,
Yes.
um, and I've actually got my son working with me now too. So
That's great.
very much family oriented, but um, we have educated our boys to use your resources, whether it's your parents, friends of your parents, whether
Yep.
your friends, and just people from school, your fraternity, whatever resources that you have. And we practice that. My wife and I practice that diligently. And so, um, one of the resources that you get, because I bought into an association called Sign World. It's not a
Okay.
franchise. You do pay them one fee, one time, and you're done. There's no royalties. Um, I get to name the business what I want. I get to sell what I want. I get to price it the way I want. So it's not a
Okay.
franchise in that regard, but I'm part of an association. And as part of that, there's 350 other Sign World businesses around the country. There's about 10 here in Atlanta.
Okay.
And so they group us up into mastermind groups. The
Yep.
owners of companies, not in the same city, but we are in mastermind groups, and we meet. I'm in two of them. One meets weekly, one meets twice a month. And so I get to share, God, I need to hire a sign maker, or I need to find another, printer or whatever. And so I can ask them what their experiences are. So we can trade at that level. It's sort of like a Visage group that's at a different level, or a different type. So absolutely use those resources. I reach out to them a lot.
Absolutely.
So that's a big part of it, because I don't know the answers, nor do I need to know all the answers. I just need to know
Right.
where to go find them, and
That's trust
then
that you will find them if you ask the questions.
then
Absolutely.
find good people to delegate to.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I think it's one of those, my experiences, I don't always, when I have the negative thoughts, right? And then I go and I approach somebody and I share, I'm always blown away with the information that I get back, right? Like there's so many people who are wanting to help and willing to help. And I think sometimes on my own journey that I've kind of not ignored that, but I just haven't realized like how many resources are out there, which is awesome. Are we okay recording? Are we good on here? All right, cool. Um, so you talked a little bit about you people. Talk to me about employees and just how. And I think I know that I'm leading you here, but how important are your employees and how has that impacted your business? As far as growing and how they impact the customers and just those sort of relationships.
Yeah, we're a small company, so every single employee matters, and matters a big deal. Yeah,
Yep.
you mishire, it impacts not just maybe customer interaction, but also employee interaction. So you got to get those right. Um, and so I've hired a couple more people just in the last month to help me
Okay.
to the business, which is good. Um, and also, I have hourly employees. And so hourly employees, they're motivated slightly differently. A lot of things are the same. They want to have interesting work and good work and regular pay, and they want to have a good work environment. Um, but on occasion, I've had people just pick up, and had one
Sure.
guy tell me on Monday that he was moving back to Illinois on Thursday.
Yeah.
So that's just something you got to deal with, and
That's
that's
it.
I have to deal with. And so that was okay, because I replaced him with a guy who is just really sharp, and he's doing really well.
Good.
So um, so the opportunity is there, but I have to spend a lot of time constantly recruiting and just having people available and people ready. So sort of like just in time
100%.
recruiting, and you sort of keep them ready, kind of thing.
Yeah, you got to have that, not backup, but it feels like you kind of do. Um, So one other piece that I'm intrigued by, you mentioned earlier that you have a lot of business interests, right? You have a lot of people who are reaching out to you for work, and then you also talked about really kind of defining your box. Having a very focused demographic of signs that you want to make, or for industries that you want to be working with. Um, Kind of dual fold here, but what are some of the factors that have helped BlackFire Signs and you yourself to get those referrals or to get those business leads coming in for, our entrepreneurs that may be wondering, how the heck do I get customers, right? What are some of those things that you've done that you've maybe have had more impact or been more beneficial to get you in front of the audience that you want to be in front of?
Yeah, so I guess it sort of have a two-part answer to that.
Bring it.
The first one is I didn't realize that maybe one of the biggest assets I bought when I bought the company were the two websites I got with the company, because the
Okay.
lead flow just doesn't stop. It's really the phone doesn't ring. Again, the phones come from the website, and the website
Okay.
leads, and they're quality leads. So, and we happen to use a marketing agency that only does sign companies around the country.
Okay.
So they've got 200 customers who are all sign companies. So they know all the SEO keywords in this industry. They know this
Yep.
industry. So it's not
Okay.
having to pay somebody to go learn it. So that was a huge benefit. I didn't fully appreciate that when I bought the company, but that's
Sure. Okay.
the other thing is um, we were actually handling about half the projects that we did a year ago, but they're 4 times the size.
Okay.
And so I made some strategic decisions about let's don't focus on 2 yard signs or
Right.
small HOA kind of projects and stuff. Fast signs, they can handle those kind of projects. So we
Yep.
actually direct business to those kind of companies. But we're focused on more our larger signs. So I made a strategic decision to focus on bigger projects in certain
Okay.
industries. We can work on fewer projects and spend more time on them. I've also educated or asked our everybody who works for the customers, spend time with the customers. Just don't order take. You got to get to know them a little bit. You want to build relationships. We want the repeat business. We don't want to,
Yep.
we don't want 90% of our business to be new business. We want every month. We want 90% of our business to be repeat customers and build continuity that way. And so that's been a transition. And it was a 3-year-old company when I bought it, and it was
Right.
beginning to do that. And so we've accelerated that process where we're being very thoughtful about who we want to work with, work for, take the kind of projects we want so we can spend more time, more quality time with it and develop those longer lasting relationships.
I mean, that makes all the sense in the world. Within my insurance career, one of the things that's always been very, just sits in the back of my head, and it probably starts with where I kind of cut my teeth, is being very vertically focused, right? Knowing who I serve and not trying to be everything to everybody, and the quality that can come out of being that focused. Now, I'm not everything to everybody. And there was a long time in my life when I didn't do anything personal insurance wise. And I would, friends call me and they're like, I have this question on my car insurance or whatever. I mean, I was like, I don't know, because that's just not my world. Right. But I think by focusing, you're able to give such a more true experience maybe to your customer, right? Because you are able to leverage all the information and resources that you have, be it through your website or whatnot, by reaching out to these other folks, by having your mastermind meetings. But you're able to offer that solid package to that person instead of trying to always adapt and always kind of being reactive. You're more proactive in knowing what you're capable of doing. And that, I believe, comes through really strongly, in your message to me here today, but also just in general as you're, selling to customers, right? It's like, I know what I'm up to. It's in this spot. And if not, I'm going to be quick to tell you that I can't do it and ask you to go do it somewhere else, because I want that customer to be happy. And I think I hear that from you as well. What's the future at BlackFire Signs look like? I mean, continued growth?
Absolutely.
Okay.
In fact, we're in the middle, our lease expires next April 1st. So we're
Okay.
looking at renewing or expanding, and given the growth plans, I think I'm looking at expanding. Can I
Yeah.
expand where the place I'm at, or do I need to move somewhere else? And then also we just bought a new piece of equipment to Rise Monday, a new laminator. We didn't have
Okay.
it before. Now we have one. We're looking at buying some additional pieces of equipment. So we outsource about 55% of what we do, just because
All
we
right.
own these massive projects, and you get these big warehouse projects that have multiple sign types, and we project manage it. We produce some internally. We partner with other sign companies to produce some of that.
Okay.
And then as we grow, we can, we're looking at a couple of key sign types that we want to bring in house in 2025. And we're going to pick one
Okay.
in 2025. And we'll bring, it could be channel letter signs or dimensional letter signs that we'll start to produce ourselves.
Okay.
And take another one in 26, another in 27. So the idea has got a roadmap here that we're working through, identifying we want to bring more of it internally because the profit is higher than when you outsource. And also you control all those different factors.
Absolutely. Quality control is critical. And I'm sure that your relationships is not something you're concerned about, but it's always nice to have it in house and have that additional kind of just last touch, if you will. How much of an element of your business is the design versus the installation, right? Like where does BlackFire kind of sit in that?
Uh, I like to present ourselves as we have great designers. A lot of design companies say, give me the detailed specs, give me the print ready files, and I go print it for you. One of the value adds that I found that when I've worked in software for all those years, if you have great designers, you differentiate yourselves among your competitors. That's the same thing in the sign industry. We have great
Okay.
designers, we really do, and we can do bigger projects and more complicated projects because sometimes people just don't know. They just got a logo and they need some ideas.
Right.
Um, we did some incredible wall graphics for Visa. They have a big call center in Atlanta, and we did 5 massive walls, 180 to 100 feet long and 14 feet
Really.
tall. And they wanted some ideas, help us design this thing, not just put our logo up there.
Right.
So we had a designer to actually design those things. They put them up there. And so we're doing a series of big murals for Waffle House headquarters right now.
Okay.
They want to do a
Big Waffle
timeline.
House fan.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. From 1955 to today. And they want this wall that can actually build on in the future. So getting really creative with, and they have a huge library of all these design assets and logos and
Sure.
old pictures and new pictures. And they've given us access to all those pictures. So we can take those and we have our designer working through these things, presenting them ideas and options. So that differentiates us versus the
In a
competition.
big way. In a big way.
So
I'm intrigued. I mean, as I said, I'm a Waffle House fan. I can only imagine what the archives of those photos and just kind of. I mean, there's such a history there. It's pretty amazing.
yeah, it's
Um,
pretty cool room. So.
what other differentiators? Because differentiators matter. But would you say that BlackFire Sign kind of brings to the arena, if you will, for? And are you guys only in Atlanta? Are you more on a national scale? How does that work too?
So yeah, let me take those questions one at a time. So some of
Please,
the
they are. Yeah.
differentiators are, yeah, we'll do the conceptualization of the sign. Sometimes you just know, I need a monument sign. What are my options? We'll actually help you and show you a bunch of different options to help get down to something. We'll help you with the design process. Permitting is huge in this business. And
Okay.
we've got a great expediter, a couple of expediters that we use for that.
Didn't
Uh,
even think about that. Yeah.
yeah, that's governments. They need their pound of flesh, and they want to also protect their neighborhoods. I mean, they
Sure.
provide a good service with that, but just we
Yes.
have to work with that, and
Yep.
then we'll actually manufacture the signage and we'll install it. We have some internal installers, some external installers, and so depending on the complexity and whatnot. So, for example, we're doing a major midtown building. It's a 50-story building, and somebody else bought it, and we're doing the first 7 floors. And it's a
Okay.
massive project. It's the big project I mentioned before. And we'll probably have over 200 signs that we end up putting
Wow.
inside and outside the building and the garage and everything. And so the permitting process is just massive with that. The design process, the iterative design process, because the buyer,
Right.
the owner, has an idea for a channel letter sign, and they want a backlit sign, and they want to change this. And so we've been through so many design iterations, and we're
Sure.
just running along with them and helping them think it through
Right.
along the way. And so those are all things that value adds, but also we're looking at a swing stage for the top of the building because they got a logo that wants to go to the top. Okay, well, that's something we're not going to do. We have a great partner who's going to do that for us.
Yep.
And so we can provide everything that you need. Whether or not we do it ourselves, we will manage the entire process. So that's helpful
Okay.
for customers. The second question you answered was about where do we work?
Yes.
So we are housed in Atlanta. We have one location here, but this year we've done projects in Las Vegas, Nevada, and Colorado, and Texas, and Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so,
So
yeah,
not.
so that's the nice thing being part of the Sign World Network is I can call, Roger Curl with Cowtown Signs in Dallas Fort Worth, and then he partnered with us to help produce and install signs for a national company that we manage here, but they were
Yep.
opening a warehouse there, and so they're great partners. We have great partners around the country.
That's huge.
That's the
That's
value
huge.
of that organization.
And I mean, I'd look at that also as a differentiator too, right? You've got these relationships that are out there, and so somebody can come to you and know that, hey, I may need something in Atlanta, but at the same time, I've got other offices in other areas of the country. you guys know the people that are in those other, cities or whatnot. And so it's having those sort of peace of mind as a buyer is critical. And it sounds like you build that for each of your clients every day.
Yeah.
So I told you before, I love to run a long podcast. We're getting a little tight on our timeline, but I want you to kind of share a little bit more about, and this is something that's personal to me, but just what that call to mentorship, that call to leadership, that call to building others, is kind of where we started. And so I'd like to kind of wrap there. But what led you there? Like what were some of those factors for you that made it in your brain that this is something that I'm going to focus on, right? And it really is towards, building others, and how did that how does that impacted you in a positive way? How, what are some of those takeaways that you can offer of the value of giving your time and giving, your experience to others to build them?
Right. So I guess this sort of started when I was in school, middle school and high school, and I had some great mentors and adult leaders who influenced me,
Yep.
both in my career and in scouting and in my faith and everything else. And so I understand the value of being influenced at certain points in your personal journey. When I and there's certain times in my career where I've benefited greatly from influences like that. But the biggest influence probably is my faith journey. And so I firmly believe serving others is the highest calling we can do, whether it's through business or whether through family or whether just in your neighborhood or your family. So I try to communicate to everybody who works for me, anybody who's on a board that I'm on, in the church and the troop and whatever. So wherever I am, I just try to exhibit leadership by serving others first. And I just want everybody in my circle of influence to know that, and hopefully I'll influence them to do likewise. So that sort of drives me in a lot of things I do.
Yep.
I volunteer a lot of time with some of the organizations I shared with you and some boards
Mm-hmm.
and things. And so I just think, that good karma will pay dividends. I'm not looking for a return on investment. I just think
Right.
it's a good way to live your life.
100%. I appreciate that. And I've been the benefactor of great mentorship. I too try to, where I can, to be available to those. And as I get older, to, continue to share what I know and try to build others. As we wrap up here, because I really do appreciate your time, tell us, how our viewers can get in contact with you, social media, website, what's the best way for them to find out more about BlackFire Signs?
I appreciate that opportunity. The website's easy, blackfiresigns.com is plural,
.com.
word.
Okay.
Yeah, you can find us there. But you can also call us at 404-636-4800 and just ask for Chris. And
Perfect.
Karabinos, there's actually two of us there, two Chris's.
Okay.
Yeah, and if anybody, whether it's signage or whether it's something else I mentioned, if anybody else wants to connect, I'd be glad to connect with you. But,
I love that. I love that. And then, anybody who's kind of on that personal journey who has, taken something from this message, it sounds like you're open, just to continue to share your story.
yeah,
I love it. I appreciate it. Well, I look forward to having more conversations, Chris. I really do. I wish we had more time, or I don't know what the best way is. I feel like there's so much more to kind of digest together. Any closing thoughts, anything you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
No, I'd just like to thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
the opportunity to interview. This has been a very pleasant interview, and
Good.
you're very experienced at this, and I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. I will take it as much as I can get them. Again, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for, being candid with us. And I look forward to, continue to learn more about you and continue building a friendship.
Great. Thanks, Will.
Thank you so much.